In today's session, let us discuss much about the database interfaces. Well, students, all of us know that a computer requires certain interface so that the user can input the request to it, right? So we know that operating system is one of the interface that is used for the users to interact with the computer system, right? It's like that. If we want to access the data that is stored in the Dbms environment, or I can more specifically tell internal level, internal schema. Based on three schema architecture, if I want to access the data from the internal level, originally we will be storing the student data, course data, right? Now storage is over. If I want to do certain operation, if I want to retrieve, view the information, update, modify, I require a interface to interact with the database. Are you all understanding? Storing is another one. Viewing or doing the modification is something different. And for the end users, we have already seen that many different category of end users are there in the DBMS environment. So we have also specified like how these end users are having the priority or privileges. Like there are certain users who are designing the database and who are developing it. Similarly, there are certain category of users who are using certain query languages as their interface to do the operations, to perform certain operations on the database. At the same time, there are other category of users who are occasionally who use this one DBMS software. Okay, and there are certain other end users who are um, not aware of these any programming languages, and with the simple menu based interfaces they will be interacting with the data present in the database, right? So in this particular topic we will be discussing which are those different types of interfaces for these end users we finished discussing. So now let us discuss how the interfaces are varying from one to another, how easy it is for the users to access with the respective interfaces. Okay, user friendly interfaces provided by a DBMS may include the following types. So the very listed are something 8, I think it is around 8 different types of interfaces. Menu based interfaces for web clients or browsing. So we'll be discussing much more in detail one by one. Okay, web based user interfaces, forms based user interfaces, graphical user interfaces, natural language interfaces, speech input and output, interfaces for parametric users, and interfaces for the administrator. So these are the categories of interfaces we have with our different multiple users. Now let us check one by one. Okay, the very first simple kind of interface, that is menu based interfaces for web clients or browsing. What is the meaning of web clients, students? Any persons who are accessing the browsers means what, like the internet. When we want to access, we will be making use of Chrome, Mozilla, Internet Explorer. These are certain common browsers you have heard, right? Yes. So whenever we are accessing the internet with the help of these browsers, we become clients. What type of clients we become? Web clients, because we are accessing the web server. The server which is holding the information, we call it as what? Normally the contents which are held in the form of web pages. Okay, so the server computer which is holding the information in terms of web pages, we call it as web server. Okay, so when we are accessing the information with the server, we becomes web client. Okay, because why web clients? We are accessing with the help of the browser. Okay, so for such type of clients or users, we have menu based interface, and we all are familiar with the menu based, that is with the graphical user interface, where you're having certain menu bar. From the menu bar you will be choosing the respective menu, sub menu, drop down list you will be getting, right? Yes, these interfaces present the user with list of options and we call it as menus. So in the menu bar we will be finding many list of various menus that lead the user through the formulation of a request. So with the help of that list of menus, on selecting one of the option in the menu, it is one of the request that is being sent to the server or to the computer. Okay. Menus do away with the need to memorize the specific commands and syntax of a query language. Rather, the query is composed step by step by picking up options from a menu that is displayed by the system. See, the easiness what we find with the help of this interface is normally the users who are not having that much knowledge with the query language, like if they are not the persons with computer science background who are not aware of any programming languages, for such type of users which will be helpful, the menu based interfaces will be helpful, where for them it is very easy that to simple one or to select one particular option. So when that option is selected, it becomes a request where the respective query for that selected option, whichever the option we users have selected, for that option the respective query will be executed. Are you understanding? So the query is composed step by step by picking the options from a menu, and that is displayed by the system. So whichever the user selects, on clicking which option the user, when the mouse click happens on whichever the menu, with respect to that the respective query or the request will be what processed at the which one software level. Okay. So this is with a menu based interfaces, a simple interface with no much details to be known by the user who is using the menu based interfaces. Okay. Now the second category is what? Web based user interfaces. It is related to the first one only. Pull down menus are very popular technique in web based user interfaces. They are also often used in browsing interfaces, which allow a user to look through the contents of a database in an exploratory and unstructured manner. So in when you are accessing the information in the which one web with the help of browser in the web pages and all, sometimes you will be finding some hyperlinks. You will be clicking on a hyperlink, and you are navigating, you are moving from that current page to a new page, right? Some informations will be, I mean, wow, you're jumping from one web page to another web page, and it may not be structured or ordered information. We call it was as we can navigate from one web page to another web page, either within a same web page or external to that web page. So it is what you are accessing the data in an unstructured manner. Structured means what? Like one after the other you're visiting, whereas in web-based interfaces we can simply navigate or jump from any page to any page, either backward, forward, and all, right? Yes. So whenever the user wants the information, whichever the information he finds interesting, he simply wants to navigate to a particular which one topic. So he want to explore certain things, the information. So such type of uh, interfaces, like such type of options are provided in which one? Web based user interfaces. Okay. Then second, third one, forms based interfaces. It is a very easy thing, and you all are knowing the term form. Form is what? Actually it is a um, interface used to collect the data, right? Yes, you all are familiar with the form. You will be entering your details, like student enrollment form. What is it? Student enrollment form, where we are enrolling ourselves to a particular course by entering the name, your this one information about your parents, your residential address or date of birth, like that, right? So there will be certain information, we call it as labels, and to respect to that, you will be given with some empty spaces, like you will be given with some text boxes where we are entering the data, right? So the same way the form structure itself, we can have a interface in the computers also, which can enter the data. The very best example is your email account. Like whenever you're logging into your email, Whenever you're logging to a website, it will be asking your user ID password information, right? So that is what form based, like where you're entering the text data, you're putting the password, you're clicking on a button. So on clicking that button, it has to verify whether you are a authorized user, and then it provides you the option to access the things. Are you all understanding? So this is one example where you are having with some form, like where you need to enter certain data and click on the button. Okay, so that was an example. Users can fill out all of the form entries to insert new data, or they can fill out only certain entries, in which case the DBMS will retrieve matching data for the remaining entries. So again, we shall take a person who actually doesn't have the knowledge with the programming languages, but he is given with the task to enter the student details. So that fellow doesn't know how to use the structured query language. With the help of structured query language, he is not aware of entering the student data. So in that case, that for such type of users, to make it more simple in inputting the information, they will be creating an interfaces where they will be giving student name, label will be there. Beside to that, empty text box will be there. So seeing the left hand label information, the user will be typing the student name in that text box. Second, student roll number. So typing the roll number in that empty text box, second text box, like that. Class, entering the class information, major, like that. After finishing, submit. One button will be kept where he'll be clicking on that submit. So that data will be saved to which one? To the database, internal schema, internal level. Are you all understanding? So this is how they are telling. A forms based interface displays a form to each user. So any user who is going to use such type of interfaces, he will be given with certain form kind of interface to input the data, or whatever his requirements are there. To collect that requirements, he will be designed with such forms. Okay, pattern of forms. Forms are usually designed and programmed for naive users as interfaces to canned transactions. So if you remember, like with the ticket booking agents or the bank tellers, the bank people, okay, for such type of naive users, which one will be used? These form based interfaces are used. These users will be frequently interacting with the database. Like for example, it could be the travel agencies related, the travel related, that user agents will be frequently accessing the database content, whether the seats are available, if it is full, whether um, the departure time, all such things. And similarly, the name users, like the bank people, with the account information, whatever the account number that is that they want to process, they will be using given with certain interface where they can easily enter the account number information, and on simply clicking a particular button, they will be getting the list of information about that account. Okay, so this is what the easiness for these form based interfaces, like in the bank or any other, the general computer knowledge is sufficient to access, to work in the bank, but they should have much knowledge related to which one? The banking kind of transactions. Okay, computer knowledge is essential, but there they it's not compulsory for them to learn the which one? Programming languages to access these software. So the softwares will be designed in such a way that they will be designed with a form based interface, where they can enter certain account number, and on single click they can access the what information stored in the database. Okay, that is our intention. Then many DBMS have form specification languages, which are special languages that help programmers specify such forms. So there are according to the convenience of the users, the forms are also designed with the help of certain form specification languages. So database management systems have such type of languages, which are called as special, which helps the programmers to use or to design such type of forms. Okay, so it is not a part of language, DBMS language. It is uh, the form design, like we want to build such type of interface, they have certain specification, form specification language which helps the programmers to design such type of interfaces. That is what they mean by the form specification language. Okay, now the next category, graphical user interfaces. So GUI, the short form, it typically displays a schema to the user in diagrammatic form. So the representation of the information or the schema, that is the conceptual level what we have discussed. So this user interfaces displays the description or the schema in definition in a diagrammatic way. The user then can specify a query by manipulating the diagram. So on going through the conceptual schema description, the user can then frame a query and can access the database. So in many cases, the graphical user interfaces utilize both the menu and forms. So what they tell here is, this is an interface which take the advantages or which includes both form based as well as menu based interfaces. Okay, and most graphical user interfaces are of pointing device such as they make use of pointing device such as mouse to select certain parts of the displayed schema diagram. So, for example, in the diagram, if there is a student schema or whichever the um, other course report, whatever the schema that is being described. So, on that diagram, if the user points with a mouse pointer to a particular part, okay, the information of that particular data will be displayed to the which one uses. So this is one of the uh, type of which one interfaces. Or another example here is students, like you all have come across you all do outing and example like zoo and all. Okay, so if you have observed any such places where the geographical location is too what large, in those geographical locations, like for example in particularly zoo, when you are viewing a particular animal or any category of animals or birds species over there, if you want to know more about that particular species, okay, a certain board will be there which will be giving the details, like some text will be displayed in the board and all. Other than that, you will also find certain interactive which one computers where the information will be displayed in on the screen, like with the help of a touch screen, whichever the species information if you want to know, if you simply touch that particular menu, okay, or any other places over there, the related information will be displayed. So this is one of the example for which one graphical user interface, where by pointing to a particular what information on that diagram or on the displayed menu, the respective information will be displayed. So this is also one of the best interface where they can make use of the situations where the people has to be given with certain information but without much uh, inputting the data, without giving too much of inputs, with some simple selection how the user can view the what information from the database. Okay, then natural language interfaces. What is this natural language interfaces? Like for example, I'm speaking with the natural language which we both, the one who is speaking, the one who is hearing, both of them can understand. So these interfaces accept requests written in English or some other language and attempt to understand them. So we user normally try to have a language which we are comfortable in programming, like the high level languages C, C++, Java or any other. Like that, we user try to write the language in which one, in the natural language. A natural language interface usually has its own schema which is similar to the database conceptual schema, as well as a dictionary of important words. So whichever the natural language we use, to frame a interface for that respective language, what operations has to be performed, how those natural language has to be processed, even that will be defined in the dictionary, okay, of dictionary. That is, for example, you all know the library, C library functions, right? So whatever the syntax you type in the C programming, that syntax will be processed by the compiler and it will be verifying what is the action to be done, whether the things are written properly by the user. It will be processing it, right? Like the same way, the natural language interface refers to the words in its schema as well as to the set of standard words in its dictionary to interpret the request. So what do you mean the words present in the schema as well as words in its dictionary? Okay, now all of you observe here, students. I will be highlighting some information like this. Select. Select. Select is what some English term. Yes, it is a normal natural language. Select. And in our previous example, we have observed that there is a database file called as student, right? Student file is there. Like that course file is there, right? Now, all of you observe here, select from. See here, select and from is a natural language and student is what? It is a schema, database schema where we have defined that the student is having the roll number, name, class, major and all. Are you all understanding? So, the natural language interface refers to the words in its schema, which are the words student. Select from student where. So here where is what? This is also the natural language. Select from student table or student database file where means what? We are putting the conditions now. Where roll number is equal to 131. Are you all understanding? So what is the meaning here? The Dbms software or the compiler, it has to process from the student file. It has to give the select means to fetch the record of which one, the student who is having the roll number 131. That is the meaning. So the natural language interface refers to the words in its schema. Schema description we are having student, right? As well as to set of standard words in its dictionary to interpret the request. So these are what in the dictionary that is it is being defined. What is select, from, where, what has to be done with these terms. Okay, if the interpretation is successful, the interface generates a high level query corresponding to the natural language request and submits it to the DBMS for processing. Otherwise, a dialog is started with the user to clarify the request. So here what they mean to say is whenever these combination of terms like with the natural language and this schema terms are used, the words are used, when we are putting these things as a statement and we are providing the request, the which one, the software or the the natural language interface, it is going to generate which one, the high level query. High level query means what? Like the structured query language, whether the language is understandable by the DBMS software, whether it is having a proper narration, what task has to be performed. Okay, so whatever the words we have used and we have framed the request, that natural language interface is going to generate, with the help of that, it is going to generate a high level query which is with the help of the natural language request, and it submits to the which one, database software, database system. So to what process to further verify. So if everything is narrated, given correctly, then the information is given to the user. Otherwise, some error message or some clarification will be asked. That kind of message will be displayed from the computers. Okay, fine. Next is speech input and output. So what is this speech input and output? Not all the users will be convenient in using or typing things or selecting the things. There are certain um, what instances where the user want to give some short input with some simple input with some sound recognition. Okay, in such cases, in such environment where the information is recognized with the help of sound. Okay, so limited use of speech as an input query and speech as an answer to a question or result of a request is becoming commonplace. So there are certain places like in the aircraft it could be, or in some space which one operation, or any other places where they don't have the convenience in typing the things, but with some simple speech, some simple inputs, if they want to get the information in such places, which one is becoming very common interface, speech input output interfaces. Okay, applications with limited vocabulary such as inquiries for telephone directory, flight arrival or departure, and credit card account informations are allowing speech for input and output to enable customers to access this information. So in which places or in which situations these simple inputs are beneficial, or which are comfortable or convenient is what just now you all viewed, where the vocabulary, I mean the dictionary of words we are using to recognize the computer when it is recognizing the speech, it is using a limited library. Limited library means what? Only with some small set of terms, like inquiring a telephone number means some simple inputs will be given, will be inputted by the client, and for that the information will be given. So it is not like a lengthy sentence, or like how you speak to another person with too much of sentences using to get one simple information. Okay, so with simple parameters, yeah, on providing such simple inputs with the DBMS software will be making use of some simple dictionary to give out the output. Okay, the speech input is detected using a library of predefined words and used to set up the parameters that are supplied to the queries. So how the things are, how the speech that the user when he spoke, I mean when he speak, how the computers are processing it. Whatever the speech that is spoken, the computer is going to collect that words. It will be referring to the small dictionary or a set of words defined in the dictionary. It will be matching those words. So on matching to that words, what action has to be done, what query has to be executed, and what other information the user has supplied in his speech, all it will collect, and it tries to process it. Okay, for output, a similar conversion from text or numbers into speech takes place. So whenever the respective information gets pointed in the database, if you think the speech input what you gave is being processed, is being recognized and processed by the DBMS software, means the similarly the it will be detecting the answers, and whatever the answers got generated, that generated output will be again in the form of a speech, and it will be giving the result. Okay, so these are certain techniques with the speech input and output interfaces. Okay, students, in today's session, I have discussed some 6 different types of DBMS interfaces. Let us discuss a few more with also DBMS environment discussion in our next session. Thank you all. Have a nice day.